Doing well, my friend. How are you?
Excellent. This morning we were talking about famous athletes you'd go back and watch in their prime if you could. It's the anniversary of the death of Muhammad Ali. You got anybody?
Yeah, you know what? He would have been a great choice. I would have loved, all I got to see of Muhammad Ali was just highlights and retro clips
the Will
and things
Smith
like that.
movie.
He would have been, Will Smith movie, of course. He would have been great, but if we're talking about an athlete I would have liked to see in person live during their prime, it probably would have been Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
I loved the Bulls during those last 3 championships when I was a kid. I had all kinds of basketball jerseys. I was obsessed with it. So I would have loved to see Michael Jordan actually do his thing in person, I think.
What were your thoughts on The Last Dance?
I loved it. I mean, obviously, obviously he had last cuts, and there's stuff that came out after it was all wrapped that maybe there wasn't whole truths in there, and he adjusted history. But you know what? It was always going to be a fluff piece on Michael Jordan's life, and that's what it was. But at the same point, I thought it was great. I thought it was really entertaining, and it was interesting to go behind the scenes a little bit at one of the best that ever did it.
Yeah, I love that. I can't wait. There's a couple more coming down the pipe
the Sammy Sosa, Mark McGuire one.
You really want to watch that one.
Yeah, because
that would be great too.
Yeah, when I was a kid, that was like the sporting thing, was watching that home run derby. That one, not the derby, but the race.
It was
the
a
chase
derby.
to 50. Basically, it was a derby, and they were both not PEDs, but whatever.
Yeah. Juice to the nuts. Yeah,
I mean, that one would have been great too. That's one of those ones where I don't know how many people remember how exciting it was at the time. I'd love to see the documentary on that one for sure.
I remember getting into baseball.
That's when I got into baseball.
I was always just a casual fan. I'm the same way with a lot of sports. If it's on and people are talking about it, I'll go watch it. Hell, I'll watch tennis. Yeah. Right? If there's something exciting going on, I'll tune in, and that's how I was for baseball. But you'd be hard pressed to catch me watch a regular season baseball game. You know,
they're great for naps.
Yeah.
I was always
throw a baseball game on, have a little nap on the couch. That's a great Sunday.
I was always a Sammy Sosa fan too, over Mark McGuire, because he had a little more flash, right?
I like
a little
Sosa.
more pizzazz.
He seemed a little more real too, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a little bit more flawed kind of guy. Yeah.
I was always a Ken Griffey guy. I loved Ken Griffey. Watch him smack dingers. I gotta watch that all day.
Yeah. With the Oilers, I mean, there's not a lot of news. One thing people are debating, though, I see, is
that's odd.
Who should
Sports
be
guys debating stuff.
Who should be the starting goalie for the Oilers when the NHL comes back? Koskinen or Mike Smith?
That's going to be an interesting question. I think that, to be honest, what I think is going to happen is that Dave Tippett is going to use the plateau system that he did all season, and both guys are going to play. I think probably, if I was just purely guessing, I would say Mike Smith probably gets game 1 because of the experience he has in the playoffs. But I would not be surprised at all if Dave Tippett played both goalies during that series. He's done it all year. There's no reason to think that he probably wouldn't do the same, especially if maybe things don't go the way he wanted in game 1 or game 2 or whatever. But I could see him switching it up.
So this is a question. How many Stanley Cup finals have been won with a shared role? Because I can't think of any. They always put one guy in and ride him like a horse, right? They always do that. Most teams have that.
Yeah, I mean, the last one not a Stanley Cup Finals, but the last one I can kind of remember is actually heartbreaking for Oilers fans, is when Cam Ward took over the net in Carolina in 2006.
Oh, yeah.
He was not the starter in the playoffs for the Hurricanes, and then he took over the net and ended up obviously winning the Cup that year. So off the top of my head, that's the only one I can think of. But you never know what is going to happen when guys haven't played for months on end. So everybody's going to be sloppy. Everybody's going to be rusty. These aren't normal circumstances. So I don't necessarily expect normal operations.
I thought it was kind of interesting this morning that the NBA announced, or yesterday, they announced their sort of plan for finishing up the season. And it looks like they may be, who came up with this playoff thing and the hub city? Do you think that was a hockey thing? Because it looks like the NBA might be following suit.
I think that they're just so, especially the NBA and the NHL, I just think they're so intertwined that what one was going to do, the other was going to do, and it didn't really necessarily matter who came out with their plan first. It just seems like that's the most logical way to do things, is to have everybody limited travel all in one city as much as possible under quarantine, to just try and make sure that they can actually finish these games without any players getting sick, which is obviously the most important thing.
Yeah. And we don't have any other, like, we have nothing firm on when they're going to announce a hub city. I know everything is tentative. We kind of got presented the hockey plan, but there was no firm dates, right?
Bill Daly, we have an interview up with Bill Daly on OilersNation.com where he talked about within 2-3 weeks they want to have this sorted and settled and a hub city announced. So in the coming weeks, we'll see how that actually goes relative to what he said. I mean, plans always change. 2020 is a wild year, so we'll just have to wait and see. Did
he say anything positive about Edmonton as a front runner or a potential hub city?
He was very non-specific. It was just very general. He talked about conditional picks because obviously the Milan Lucic, James Neal had this conditional third. So they're looking at right now whether some of those things are prorated. There was a lot of that kind of stuff as opposed to really getting into the details about how the 2014 playoff tournament is going to carry out.
Yeah, the Flames are going to whine about that.
They're going to whine. I don't know what they're going to do because prorating isn't fair to the Oilers. But if you did that, James Neal would finish with something like 22 or 23 goals or something like that. So that would mean the Flames get the pick. It's going to be really interesting to see how this actually plays out. Obviously, as an Oilers fan, I would love to laugh at Flames fans even more than I already have been. But that's just me being selfish. So we'll actually have to see how things play out.
All right, my friend. Always a pleasure. We'll chat again next week. Hopefully we have more to talk about with respect to, where the NHL's going and firm dates and that kind of stuff. So fingers crossed.
Hopefully.
Yeah. All right, bud. Have a good one.
Thanks, boys.
Baggedmilk, Oilers Nation.